Hello artists! We're going to be doing a sketching with India ink, which is one of my absolute favorite media to sketch with. It's kind of a cross between drawing and painting. So I have a Speedball Black India ink. You will have some containers of India ink in the classroom. That's a Blick India ink. That's a really great ink as well. We're going to do a basic value scale and a value sphere, which you can see is messy, and then a little still life steady. So you're going to need a round paintbrush. This one is a size 8, a size 6, or a size 4 will do as well. You're going to need some water. I like to have 2 water cups, a clear water cup, and then a dirty water cup. You'll want like a paper towel. You're going to need a palette. There are some round palettes in the classroom. You can get one of those. They are dirty, they're hard to clean out, but they're still good to use. I, at home, just have this styrofoam palette that I'm going to be using. So the first thing that you should do is sketch out 5 rectangles. We're going to carefully open our ink. This, if it gets on your hands, will stay for about a week, maybe a little bit longer. When I dip my brush in the ink, I'm just going to dip the very tip of the brush. So hopefully you can see that. I hope it's not too fuzzy for you. I didn't go all the way up to the barrel because I don't want it to end up messing up the hairs. So I have it just on the very tip. And then I'm going to do my darkest black. After you do that, I'm dipping it in the water a little bit, and I'm making a puddle over here with some black in the water so that it gets kind of gray. The really cool thing about India ink is it can be transparent or it can be opaque, just depending on how much water you add to it. It does work kind of like watercolor, but it's pretty permanent. Sometimes watercolor is semi-permanent. I think I added a little bit too much black to this one. If I dry off my brush, I can sponge, like I'm soaking it up. I'm almost like sponging it up. I want to go with a really light gray right here. And before it dries, you can kind of sponge so you get a better value scale if you need to. So there I have a basic value scale done in India ink. I'm going to do a value sphere. So I'm going to start by, I cleaned off my brush in the dirty water. So it's going to be slightly gray. I'm drawing a circle. So I'm just kind of putting a circle of water down there. I'm not sure if you can see the reflection on that, where I have that water down there. Then on my palette, I have kind of I've made these like puddles off to the side. I'm gonna slowly add the light gray to it. Just add little amounts of pigment. And you'll notice it kind of swirls around. It does weird stuff. It's a little bit hard to control, which is okay. If you're a perfectionist, this medium might really bother you. When I first started using it, I was really uneasy of it because I did not have the control, but it really taught me how to look at an object and be okay with an expressive drawing of it. Something cool about ink while that's drying is I can put down a trail of water right here and then dab a little ink right there, and surface tension pulls it across. So the surface tension of the paper pulls that pigment all the way across. Some of you may have done this with watercolor paint with me before. Some of you may not. I just think that's really super cool because then I can sketch something and use that to pull it across. I am going to let this dry a little bit and I'm going to sketch just something else. This is something I was working on right here. We'll sketch on this. I'm trying not to spill this. I have this seed pod that I really love. In the seed pod earlier, having a really great time. You can let it dry a little bit and then go put more details on it. So this one was dry. Well, there's a big puddle. That's not super dry. I lied. It's drier here and now it's not moving around, so I can put the details of the pod more down in there. I'm sketching with the water. So this does take an element of control out because it's kind of hard to see exactly where I'm sketching. And I'm using a largish brush. It's not like a fine, small pencil. And now I'm going to come in, and I just love how the surface tension does that, how it pulls it around and you can get all these cool little details. I was telling you, this really taught me to see and to be less of a perfectionist. I would beat myself up if I was struggling with shadows, if I was struggling with form and shape and getting angles and proportions right. And it really helped me just to see, trying to get the character of an object that I'm drawing, which then gave me the confidence to take some risks in shadows. I just put a little bit darker ink on there, pull it down on the bottom. Get a little bit in the bottom of the lid. Anyway, I think this is a ton of fun. When your value sphere is dry, you can go back and start adding more values down in the shadow here, but it's not going to be perfect. Just get the spirit. So I would let that dry. I'd add a little bit more dark in there. Dipping the sometimes I'll dip the very tip and then blot it on the styrofoam. Look at my little pod here. There we go, that's the angle. Go in and do some more detail. I love layering this stuff, and if you just run the very tip of your brush around, you can still get very fine detail even though you're using a larger brush. Focus on trying to get a 5-step value scale. Play with the tension. Play with just moving your paintbrush around. How does it move? How does it go from light to dark. Play with overlapping a little bit. Play with sketching some still life items out. Make sure you wash your brushes really well. Please put everything away. But I hope you have a lot of fun, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.